Megacast TV, your channel of choice. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Hello, it's only me, and welcome to another edition of Megacast TV. I'm joined by my friend from across the pond, the lovely Beth. Hello, Beth. How are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm very well. I have a little bit of a cold, but not COVID, so no big deal.
Ah, that's good then, as long as it's not COVID. Do you
Right.
know, I've never ever heard of anyone dying from COVID, and I've heard of 2 people today that have died of COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they people in your city or your town?
Well, one was my mum's friend,
Oh,
which we call Auntie. She died of COVID. She was taken into hospital and died of COVID. And the other was Meatloaf. That's what Meatloaf died of, apparently.
oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
I heard today that he died, but I didn't hear from what.
Yes. So anyway,
Oh,
anyway, so we are discussing the difference in crimes in the UK and crimes in the USA. So we've got a bit of a. Let me just look at the time. We've got a bit of a conflict, really, haven't we, about how crimes vary? Because you have a lot of, and I know we're not going to touch on this broadly, but you do have a lot of gun crime over there, don't you?
we do. Over in the Americas, we have a lot of gun leeway, I guess.
Right. So what do you call Americas?
Well, all of the states, I guess I should say the states.
Okay. Okay. And what is the most major cause of crime in the United States?
That's going to vary state to state. So maybe someplace like Chicago, they have a high gang rate. And so you're going to have a lot of gang competition, and there's a lot of crime there.
Right.
Someplace maybe like where I live in Ohio, there's high drug trafficking as well as sex trafficking. So there's probably more gun incidents related to that.
Is that because you're close to a border or near the sea?
We're close to a border, so we border up against Michigan and then also Kentucky, but also because we have a main interstate that runs, it's I-75, which that runs through Michigan, and then you can actually take that all the way to Florida if you wanted to. It runs through all those states to get to Florida. So a lot of truck drivers will use that for dropping off goods, but then also a lot of bad guys, if you will, kind of take that for sex trafficking to transport women.
Right. So over here, one of our major crimes are things like petty theft. So it might be shoplifting or grievous bodily harm or just little things like that. We have, I think we've discussed prior to the show starting the whole gun crime scenario, which we are going to cover at some point during this series. But obviously, I think in the UK, we do have, and it's becoming more common, a lot of gang culture, especially in London. You know, people come to me and they say, oh, London's a fantastic place. I want to go and live there. I want to go and move there. But actually, it has one of the highest gang cultures in the UK.
Okay.
If not
Can
the
you share with me what those gangs are? Are they like widely known?
Not to me personally. They are probably quite widely known to the Metropolitan Police because I don't live in London. But there's a lot of sort of our patch, your patch, my drugs, your drugs scenarios kind of thing going on.
Okay. Okay. Because here in the States, and I don't know, it's a lot of like Hollywood movies, and also even like maybe like rap songs, they will sing a lot about the 2 main gangs that we have here was known as the Bloods and the Crips.
Right.
So one is like known by the color blue. Those would be the Crips, and the Bloods are known by the color red.
So is that, does each Crips and each Blood have its own individual state gang. So the different states have different gangs of those. Or where can you find these gangs, the Bloods and the Crips?
Really well known out in LA, so California, but they have, it's almost like a national thing where they have like subgroups in each state that maybe like homeless kids will, kind of gravitate towards looking for like a leader or a place to stay, and they get wrapped up in gangs and with some hanging out with bad people.
Oh, wow. You see, we don't have specific gangs here. We just have a number of gangs that are very territorial about their patch and their land and their members.
Okay.
It will be a number of gangs. We've had a bit of rioting over here with various things, especially again in London. But I want to tell you that if you come into London as a tourist, and I'm talking specifically about London, then things like pickpocketing are absolutely rife in London. And you can imagine that because of the amount of crowds, it's quite easy to do because you're quite close, and especially on the tube, you're quite close to a lot of people at any one time. And so pickpocketing and shoplifting, I would say, are the major crimes in London, along with the gang culture.
Okay. Plus, coming in as a tourist, right? We wouldn't maybe really be thinking about that or know that about that area.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're on places like Oxford Street, Trafalgar Square, Buckingham Palace area, House of Parliament, the main tourist areas, it's quite rife. It's quite rife.
Wow, that's so interesting, because I do that quite a lot when I go on vacation. I will, you kind of get into the attitude like that's never going to happen to me because it's never happened before. And
Right.
so, yeah, I just kind of maybe carrying my purse, and I don't really clutch it that tight, or not really watching if it's, latched or whatnot. But it sounds like I could do that, come over there and go to Buckingham Palace and not be thinking anything of it and be pickpocketed.
Oh yeah, definitely. And especially, like I said, on the tube, because everybody's so tightly packed in, and there are lots of tubes. I mean, there are tubes every 2 minutes to various parts of London. So everybody just gets all on the one tube, and it goes and it comes, and they get on it, and the next one comes and they get on it, and you're like literally, face to face with people, and it's quite an easy place to be able to target these types of crimes. Whereas I guess out in the places where I am, like Yorkshire, and the outer areas, I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the towns and cities, because it does, and it can, and it will, but I don't think it's as widespread as it is in some of the major cities like London, Leeds, Manchester, to a degree Sheffield, Birmingham, Glasgow, not really Edinburgh. I mean, I visited Edinburgh on a number of occasions, and I've been in crowds in Edinburgh on the streets when it's been a busy sort of summertime, and it's not really a place that it's ever happened to me personally.
Okay. Is it more common for women to be pickpocketed carrying a purse than a man and a wallet that's usually on his person?
I wouldn't think it would matter what the specific gender is. I think they're just out for whatever they can get. It is something that you need to think about when you're coming over here.
Good to know, definitely.
So what about things like football violence? Do you get things like that over there?
About what?
Football violence.
Oh, no, that is not anything. I feel like Brits are very, very passionate about football. I don't see that. Maybe, well, your football is soccer, what we call soccer, and then our football is like football, like the pigskin. There's some pretty avid fans here, but no, we don't really have riots over that.
Really?
No.
It happens a lot here. It happens a lot here. So
now the last year we've definitely had more riots over here with Black Lives Matter movements and some more like political movements, but not over sports.
So what about things like, I mean, I know you have a lot of high school shootings and things like that over there.
Unfortunately, we do. It seems to happen a lot from the research I've done on that. Well, kids who have been bullied. We do have a problem with that over here, bullying and like relentless bullying. And then we have the issue of social media, kids with their cell phones. And it's not just happening just at school because of social media. Then they go home and they're bullied on social media, and so it doesn't stop. And the kids, don't know, with an underdeveloped brain and don't have the established coping skills, then they somehow get access to a gun, and then they go to school and hurt the people who hurt them. So it has happened in our history quite a lot, unfortunately.
Do you think a lot of crime over there is caused by guns?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah. So do you think there would be less crime if guns weren't so widely freely carried?
Definitely, because a huge part of it is access to the guns. And so every time we will have a school shooting or something happens, a big group of people will say, well, then just stop the access. Don't sell it so easily at the stores, right? So like Walmart, you can buy guns there, handguns, you can buy, like you said, rifles or hunting guns. Stop making it so accessible. And so there are things that they have to do here in order to get a gun. So they have to file for a permit, and that goes on a national registry, and it takes 3 days. And that's so it can go through and scan and see if that person applying, if their name comes up on any sort of registry that's been banned, or like a watch list or anything.
All right. So what do you scan? Do you scan ID for the guns or? Yeah.
Right, a state ID, like a driver's license. Yeah. And so even if somebody goes in to buy a gun, let's say they have a plan to hurt somebody, if they go in to buy a gun, they have to wait a minimum of at least 3 days.
Ah, okay. So it's not just a case of walking up to the checkout and scanning it through kind of thing.
Right. It definitely used to be like that, but because of all these incidents, they've put things in place. Our government has put things in place to try to create a little bit of a barrier from that happening.
Right. And I know you're from a military background. What about things that happen in the army or the navy or whatever? Do you think there's much crime happening within the units itself? Or if you're not happy to talk about that, that's fine. But just
Oh, no, that's okay. No, not really, because of the camaraderie and the loyalty that's built up amongst service members, that usually doesn't happen. If it does happen, it's usually a spouse, like a military person and a spouse. If it does happen on like a military post or a base, it's usually not like a member versus a member.
right. So quite often it can be like a what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Domestic violence.
like a civil matter.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or we do have a pretty high suicide rate here too. I know I'm a mental health professional, so that's one of the first things that we look at is access to weapons, and especially with military people, if you've been trained on shooting, sometimes it can become a hobby, and we have like rifle ranges where you can go and practice shooting, and a lot of times military members will be pretty into guns and have their own personal stash of guns. So that's the first thing that we look at with somebody who's kind of talking about suicide or showing some signs of depression. We do look at access to guns.
And what about so is it just military mental health you deal with, or is it any mental health?
No, any mental health.
Right. Okay. So would a scan of an ID come to you to be checked?
No, the scanning of ID is done all at the stores.
Right. So who checks that? Is it the government or?
Right, yeah, so the government's looking at that.
Do you have any questions about the types of crimes over here in the UK, or any questions about, because I've asked you lots about the States.
I do. So we had established there's really no handguns over there, and even the policemen don't carry handguns. Is that correct?
That's right, yeah. We do have specific arms units that carry handguns, but they would only be called in situations where they're needed. So hostage type situations and sort of gang crime type situations, they might be called in.
Okay. Do they, if they don't carry guns, like the average kind of street policeman, if they don't carry guns, do they carry tasers or pepper spray that you spray in your eyes?
They carry pepper spray, they carry tasers, they carry truncheons. Truncheons hurt when you're being hit with one.
Is that like what we call like a baton, like the long
Yes,
kind of
yes.
stick? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you call it again?
A truncheon.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Baton.
Okay. Yeah, a baton. Yes. I don't know if you heard about this, if it ever made its way to you, but not that long ago, it was some point in 2021, there was a female police officer here in America. I don't remember which state it was. There was a person who was in the car. They had pulled him over and he was trying to get away. He was in the driver's seat and he tried to get away and pressed on the gas to flee. And one of the police officers who pulled him over went to grab for her handgun, her pistol, and she grabbed her taser and shot him.
Oh.
And she was tried in court because they said, well, he died. I think he died. And they had to try her for murder. And here she's a, law-abiding police officer, pulled this person over who was doing the wrong thing. And because she grabbed the wrong weapon, she killed him. And yeah, I believe I saw recently that they found her guilty and she's now in jail.
Did she kill him because he was driving though? So that's how he died? Or did she kill him when he was out of the car? Because there's the total difference, isn't there?
So he was sitting in the car.
Right.
And maybe they didn't do all the procedures, right? So like remove the key from the ignition type thing. I don't know exactly, but I know he was sitting in the car and something in him. I don't know if he had maybe like a warrant out for his arrest and he was scared that it was going to come up, or feeling like he was going to get arrested or something, but something inside of him told him to flee and he stepped on the gas and tried to flee.
Oh, wow. Well, it's been really interesting, Beth, this evening, talking about the differences between crimes in the UK and crimes over there in the United States. I hope you've enjoyed listening to us waffle our usual amount of rubbish as much as we've enjoyed doing it for you. And I'm going to say my goodbyes now. So I'm going now. Goodbye.
Bye.
That was short and sweet.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody. It'll show you where it's downloaded to.
Okay, it put it in like some random spot. Let's see if I can move it.
As long as you know where it is, that's all that matters.
See if it worked. Yep, I see it. Okay. Yes.
Okay, click the plus and click add video.
You're good at all this. Oh my gosh.
They carry pepper spray, they carry tasers, they carry truncheons. Truncheons hurt when you're being hit with one.
Is that like what we call like a baton, like the long kind of stick?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you call it again?
A truncheon.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Baton.
Okay. Yeah, a baton. Yes.
Megacast TV, your channel of choice. Please like, share, and subscribe.